Kansas City. Kansas City, here I not come, for good reason. If you know me, you know how I hate Kansas City, especially after the fact that the Royals took care of my Blue Jays in the 85 and 2015 LCS. Toronto blew a 3-1 series lead and won, and the Royals used some kind of weird magic and the problems with David Price in the other one. You know which ones I'm talking about. So anyway, the Kansas City Royals actually started life in 1969 as an American League expansion team 50 years ago. Now, the problem was that Kansas City was born out of a lawsuit. The lawsuit involved Missouri Senator Cy Symington, who basically was pissed off that Charlie Finley would show no loyalty towards Kansas City and move the Kansas City Athletics to Oakland. That KC Athletics team was terrible, mostly because they had no winning record at all during their existence in Kansas City, and also the fact that most of the trades the A's made were with the Yankees. The A's were made to be the Yankees' quote unquote farm team and all that because the Yankees owners actually owned a part of Kansas City, I think the Municipal Stadium or something like that, and then they made the two teams go into cahoots. The biggest trade was sending a young Roger Maris to the Yankees for some other people, and Maris won back-to-back MVPs. So anyway, the Royals came in 1969. However, there were rumors that the Royals were supposed to be in 1971 with the other American League expansion team, and it was no guarantee that Seattle would have had that expansion team. Unfortunately, the lawsuit by Symington made sure that baseball had to bring it in 69. So they decided to put both Kansas City and Seattle in the American League alongside the National League having San Diego and Montreal. Kansas City actually had a few good key players. They drafted well, or they found talent well, because the draft wasn't as big as it is in the other four major sports. However, they picked up a few big trades. They picked up Amos Otis as a Mets farmhand for Joe Foy, and they made their move. They got Frank White, Freddie Patek, George Brett, Dennis Leonard, among others. Kansas City took a while to develop, but in 1976, it all worked out well, and they won the AL West, surprising the three-time defending division champion Oakland A's. Actually, I think it was like 5, wasn't it? I think the A's, the last time they missed an LCS was 1970, if I'm right. So anyway, the Kansas City Royals won the division. In fact, for a while, Kansas City was the fastest expansion team to make the playoffs. 8 years. The New York Mets tied them technically, because it was from 62 to 69. That in their 8th season, they went to the playoffs. Kansas City went in their 8th season. San Diego didn't get to the playoffs until 1984, 15 years after they got its expansion team. Montreal didn't make the playoffs until 1981. They're 12 years. The Seattle Pilots / Milwaukee Brewers didn't make the playoffs until 1981, but that was, of course, the split season thing. And, of course, the Angels didn't make the playoffs for the first time since till 1979. That was 17 years in memory serves me right. Alongside the other expansion team, Washington / Texas, who actually waited till the 1990s to get a playoff spot. That's amazing. But anyway, Kansas City had that record. Heck, the Blue Jays and Mariners didn't even come close. The Blue Jays, yes, they made the playoffs in 1985, but that was in their 9th season of existence. Kansas City beat them with 8. And Seattle didn't make the playoffs until 1995. 18 years after they got the franchise. But anyway, the Royals record would actually be snuffed out by Florida, who went to the wild card, who won the wild card in their 5th year of existence, the 5th season. But then Arizona beat that, getting to the playoffs in their 2nd year of expansion. Now you'd be thinking, well, in the other major sports, you make your expansion team and then you make the playoffs that fast. Technically, the NFL, I don't think, has really much. Tampa, I know, did it in their 4th season of existence. But anyway, you may think the NHL, wait a minute, Vegas did it in their 1st year. That's true. But of course, in 1967, the NHL decided to have expansion, the great expansion. All of the original 6 teams in one division, the 6 expansion teams in the other, and basically it guaranteed the expansion team making the Stanley Cup final every year. But after 3 years of disaster and an 0-12 combined record, they decided to move Chicago to the West, and put both Buffalo and Vancouver in the Eastern Division. That's where the original 6 teams were. But anyway, that doesn't count. I was meant to do that. But Kansas City had some great talent. That 1976 team was fantastic. More on that later. But anyway, the Royals actually went on in 77, 78, 80, and 81 to the ALCS. They finally broke through in 1980, sweeping the New York Yankees. I kid you not. They swept the New York Yankees, but unfortunately, George Brett's hemorrhoids and Frank White's terrible World Series doomed the Royals, and they lost the 1980 World Series to the Phillies. Kansas City would finally get another chance at the World Series in 1985 at the expense of my Blue Jays, of course. If it wasn't for the fact the LCS was a best of 7, the Blue Jays would have been in the 85 World Series against Cardinals. I already did that, and of course, sadly enough for me, it was a disaster. But anyway, the 85 Royals went on to the World Series, were down 2-0, and the odds were stacked against them because no team had ever gone down 2-0 at home in a World Series and came back to win the series. So Kansas City was up against it. Kansas City did win 2 out of 3 in St. Louis. But unfortunately, Game 6 came pulsing by. And with St. Louis with a hard-fought 1-0 lead and the great rookie Todd Worrell pitching, Dane Orch hit a decent ball and thought he beat it out. He did beat it out. Wrong. Dankinger fucked it all up, looking at the runner's feet and at the glove. Probably thinking that Jack Clark did not have the ball in his glove. Poor Dankinger. And he was an American League umpire, so a lot of people thought it was just biased. But anyway, the Cardinals did unravel in 85. The Royals used a couple of Cardinals miscues in Game 6 after the Dankinger call to win Game 6. And then Game 7, they beat a demoralized Cardinals team 11-0. Amazing. So anyway, the Royals actually suffered a massive heartache in 1986 because the year after he guided the Royals to the title, manager Dick Hauser suffered a brain tumor and unfortunately died in 1987. Kansas City wasn't really that good for playoff spots and all that. It would take a while till they get to the playoffs. That'd be 2014. George Brett came and went. Kevin Abier came and went. Carlos Beltran came and went. But anyway, 2014 Royals shocked everyone, not only by coming back a couple of times in the wildcard game against Oakland that shocked the A's, but they did it by speed. Speed kills. And that was their philosophy. And that's how the Royals actually shocked everyone by sweeping the Baltimore Orioles in the ALCS. I can't remember who they got in the ALDS, but the Royals actually won their first 8 games. Yes, the wildcard game counts as a playoff game. 8-0, tying the 1976 Cincinnati Reds. Ironic enough, I'll be talking about the Reds for best playoff start. Royals did unfortunately lose a game, and then 3 more in the finals against the Giants. Game 7, Mad Bum coming out on the hill on a few days rest in relief. Then Kansas City got their revenge in 2015 and got past the Blue Jays. But you can blame Houston. As I said in my What If about the Astros, I mean, if it wasn't for that Carlos Correa blunder in Game 4, the Astros would have won 4 games. Astros would have played the Blue Jays, and I believe the Astros won that series, so the Astros would have played the Mets. Royals actually were down and out in Game 1, but Familia blew the save for the Mets, and the Royals came on top and won the series in 5 games. They've been kind of off and on, but mostly off since then. So, the 1976 Royals. As I said, the first Royals team to make the playoffs. Happy days are here again. But anyway, Kansas City would actually fall flat in Game 5. Yeah, of course, it's the best of 5 LCS. Game 5, they thought they had it. Mark Littell was ready to go against Chris Chambliss. You know what happens. Chris Chambliss, pennant-winning home run. And the fans go bananas. I believe that's the first pennant-winning home run in LCS history was Chris Chambliss. Maybe supposed to be right. And then the second one could have been Ozzie Smith in 1985 if it was best of 5, but it wasn't. Well, you can kind of say Bobby Thompson too was the first one, but anyway. So anyway, in this simulation, we take out the 76 Yankees and put the 76 Royals in the final against the Big Red Machine, coming off that great 1975 World Series against the Red Sox. So of course, for Cincinnati, all the World Series starters are in rotation. The Royals, I just have to think about what type of rotation for them. So anyway, let's have the fun begin. A big match. Royals and Reds. Dennis Leonard does get the game 1 start against Donnie Gollett. And the Royals come out on top, 6-2. Emil Otis, AO baby, with a 2-run home run in the first inning. Then Buck Martinez hits a home run, 3-0. Buck Martinez, wow. Johnny Bench hits a single to score Ken Griffey Sr. And then Pete Rose does ground out. That could be a double play, but he avoids the tag. And Concepcion scores 3-2, perfect. But Frank White gets an RBI single for Otis. John Mayberry gets an RBI single. Frank White, RBI triple. Score Mayberry. Otis and Martinez with home runs. 2 RBIs by Otis, 2 by White, 1 by Mayberry and Martinez. Dennis Leonard goes 8 in third. Mark Littell gets the save. 76 Reds. Rose and Bench got RBIs, but they couldn't believe their luck, especially being Joe Morgan trying twice for home base and fucking it up. Don Gollett is the loser. Bourbon, McEnany, and Pat Darcy are also pitching. So Kansas City goes with Paul Splitorf for game 2, while it will be the unhinged Fred Norman getting the game 2 start. And the Reds, Kachi! Hal McRae RBI single. 4-0 till the 4th. Pete Rose RBI scored Geronimo. Hal McRae hits a triple to score Freddie Patek in the 5th. George Brett RBI single. Scored Patek. But Ken Griffey Sr. hits a 2 RBI double to make it a 3-3 game before Johnny Bench comes in with on a 2-1 pitch. And boom, left center gone. Johnny Bench. Joe Morgan scores Pete Rose with a double. Ken Griffey Sr. scores Morgan. David Concepcion makes a blunder and got Tom Boquette to score on a run. Buck Martinez grounded out. So McRae with 2 RBIs, Brett with 1. Splintor 5 innings. He didn't get the decision. Then Tom Hall, they call it blow safe. Larry Gura and Marty Patton had to come in. Go Reds. Reds. Bench with a home run. Rose, Morgan, Griffey Sr. with 3 RBIs. Bench with 2. Fred Norman goes 7. Raleigh Eastwick comes in for, I guess, a save situation and gets it. So now it's time for the designated hitter. Tom Boquette and Bob Bailey. However, the Reds are going to definitely need a new guy. Dan Dreesen is going to come in as DH. They don't trust Bob Bailey. I wouldn't trust Bob Bailey if I were you. Okay. They decided to, oh yeah, the Royals have to do something for their catcher too, and that is Buck Martinez. So after a few changes, we'll go to game 3, Kansas City. The Reds come in and beat the Royals 8-6 at Royal Stadium. Concepcion had a good ball, but he threw it wide to first base, scoring Pocat. Cesar Geronimo triple to score Griffey, while Dressen hits an RBI single for Geronimo. De Concepcion RBI single for Geronimo. Pete Rose got an RBI single. Joe Morgan, fielder's choice, make it 5-1. The Rose in the 4th, Buck Martinez, RBI scored Brett. Cowan's RBI scored Buck Martinez. And then Joe Morgan makes a terrible error. Score Mayberry. Dan Dreesen in the top of the 5th hits a 2 RBI double. Make it 7-4. Al Cowens makes it 7-5 of a home run. And then Cesar Geronimo with the RBI score Griffey Sr. Rose come back. John Mayberry RBI single scored Buck Martinez. And despite runners on second and third for the Royals, they couldn't do anything about it. Reds win. RBIs by Rose, Morgan, Geronimo, Dreesen, and Concepcion. Boy, it was great to put Andreessen in as DH. Fred Norman won the game. Oh, I didn't change the pitchers. Whoops. The win, Borbin, McNamee, Rowlick. How did I not change the pitchers? Fuck. I completely forgot about that. Counts 2 RBIs. Splintorf lost Patton and McNory. I'm sorry. I completely goofed. Alfitz Morris pitched. Oh, Pat Zachary. Rose win. Joe Morgan got an RBI single to score Pete Rose. John Mayberry tied it at 1 with an RBI single. Johnny Bench gets an RBI double for Gravy Sr. But the Royals in the 6th hit hard Pocket triple to score Cowens. Hal McRae scores Pocket. 3-2. Reds run around 3rd. They couldn't do anything about it. Brett hits the fielder's choice for a run. Morgan Bench. For RBIs, Pat Zachary does badly. Pocket, McRae, Brett, and Mayberry. For RBIs, Alfitz Morris goes all the way. Goes all the way. The young Steve Busby goes against Gary Nolan for Game 5. How did I forget? And the Royals are now up 3-2. Big win for them, 12-7. Ken Griffey with an fielder's choice. Cesar Geronimo, 2 RBIs to score Morgan and Griffin. Brett with an RBI single to score Patak at 3-1. Dave Concepcion, 4-1. Bottom of the 3rd, George Brett hits an RBI single for Pocket. Amos Otis, 2 RBI double to tie the game, and then Buck Martinez hits that double to score Otis. Joe Morgan and Tony Perez go back-to-back with home runs. And Cesar Geronimo, fielder's choice. It looked good. Cowens with an RBI single to make it 7-6. Hal McRae got into fielder's choice. And then Amos Otis, RBI single, 8-7. The Royals put the game away. Cowens, RBI sac fly. Freddie Patak, a double. Hal McRae, a single to score Patak, 11-7. Mayberry got an RBI single, make it 12-7. The Reds can't believe their luck. Morgan and Perez hit home runs, but it was not enough. Geronimo, 3 RBIs. Gary Nolan, 2 1/3. He wasn't the one who blew it. It was Don Gollett with Manny Samarito coming in to pitch. Bourbon and McAleary and Darcy and Elcana. So the Reds had to use 6 pitchers. The Royals, 7 players with RBIs. Patak, McRae, Brett, Otis, Martinez, and Cowens. Busby did okay, but he wasn't the same pitcher as he used to be. Marty Patton came in for 4 innings and got the win. Steve Mangori, an inning. Dennis Leonard against Fred Norman for Game 6. Obviously, you got to have Bucky Martinez, and catcher. And unfortunately for the Royals, it's a Game 7, 10-5 Reds. Tony Perez got an RBI single in the 1st. Griffey Sr. RBI single. And then Johnny Bench decides to rocket one into left field. Gone. 5-0 Reds. And then it turns desperate for the Royals. They think they got it. But Bench RBI single to make it 6-0. Concepcion and Fred Norman with RBIs. Fred Norman was the starter. Fred Norman. Wasn't it supposed to be someone else? No, wait a minute. No, that's right. 8-0. George Foster RBI single, 9-0. You can pretty much see where this is going. Royals put 5 runs in the 8th, which is amazing. Tom Bucket's got a triple. Freddie Patak gets an RBI single. George Brett gets a sac fly 9-3. Buck Martinez RBI single for McRae. Mayberry with a double to score Otis. And Tony Perez RBI double. Made it 10-5. That was all she wrote. Kansas City. Dennis Leonard, not really that good. Patton came in, couldn't do it. Hasler pitched 3 2/3, and Steve Mangori pitched an inning. So yeah, the Reds are forcing the issue back. Johnny Bench 4 RBIs there. Number the win, Boardman the save. So then you got yourself an issue. Game 7. Paul Splintorf versus Gary Nolan, because Don Golan actually did pitch Game 7. So anyway, we got ourselves a Game 7. Splintorf versus Nolan. And bad news for the Royals. They thought they had it in their hands. They blow a 3-2 series lead as the Reds win at home. Thank you very much. Joe Morgan, RBI doubled, scored Pete Rose, 1-0. Hal McRae made it 2-1. Great job there. Frank White and Alan Cowan scored, but Splintorf is the only worst enemy. Well, pitched 2-2. Bottom of the 5th, George Foster hits a triple score. Joe Morgan. Ken Griffey Sr. gets a sac fly, 4-2. Yay. And then Al Cowan's in the 7th, home run, 4-4. Amazing. But Dave Concepcion is the hero in the bottom of the 8th with a home run, make it 5-4. Cowan's got an RBI double. They used Poquette as a pinch hitter, given a walk with 2 outs, and then Freddie Patek blows it by popping up. So I'm sorry for saying this, but the Royals, I thought they had it. But Cowan's with 2 RBIs, Hal McRae with 2 RBIs. Splintorf was not the loser. 5 innings. Then Steve McGorry, Tom Hall, Larry Gura is the legend. Legend Larry that blows the game. The 76 Reds do go back-to-back World Series, but they have to do it in Game 7 both times. I feel bad for the Royals and all that. But in the end, you know you have to take credibility, and credibility was made. And the Reds knocked the Royals out of the World Series.